Welcome to Support Women DJs, the podcast. I'm your host, Rach Brosman, founder of Support Women DJs. We host raves in New York City with all women DJ lineups. And in this podcast, I will interview women DJs and producers to learn about their struggles, successes, and insights into the industry. Today, we are talking to Bangs. Bangs, formerly known as Georgie, is a versatile DJ, singer, songwriter, and producer. Rising in the scene in New York, Bangs began her career as a techno DJ in 2021, playing some of the biggest venues in just a year, such as the Brooklyn Mirage. Although Bangs quickly realized she was inspired by a sound she felt was underrepresented in the dance world, synth music. Taking hold of her songwriting passion, Bangs decided to dedicate her artist project to building her own unique sound as well as a space for this underground genre. Why don't you say we get started, Bangs?
Let's do it. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right.
Oh, wait, I did bring something. Just a little treat. If you're into red wine.
Yes.
May I do the honor?
Yes.
I don't think I've ever said that before. May I do the honor?
Oh my God. You poured yourself some? You got some?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful.
I did a pre-pour for myself.
Okay, we need a cheers. Clearly.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Cheers to this amazing show you're putting on. Support Women DJs.
Cheers to women DJs, I guess.
Cheers.
Woohoo. Wow. Great start to the show. Why don't we start out with some rapid fire?
Hey, yeah, I love it.
Okay. What is your favorite before show snack?
Sushi. Vegan sushi.
Are you vegan?
I'm vegetarian, but vegan sushi is really good because I feel like it's not too heavy,
Okay.
but it also fills me up like just enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially if I'm going to drink before a show.
I know I'm getting away from rapid fire when I ask a follow-up, but whatever. I wanted to know. What producer are you obsessed with right now?
Ooh, I'm obsessed with Moreau, however you pronounce his name.
What type of music?
He's like the king of like modern goth wave / dark wave.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what song do you have on repeat this month?
Ooh, another good question. I would say I Like the Way You Kiss Me by Artemis.
What is your go-to drink order?
Go-to drink order is usually tequila on the rocks with a little splash of pineapple juice.
Great.
Or a beer.
What kind of beer?
Any kind of beer.
Okay. Okay. Love it. And I'm sure you've been to a lot of venues in New York. What's your favorite venue in New York City?
I really like TVI.
Mm-hmm.
One of my faves.
Cool. And of course, we have to ask, what is your sign?
Capricorn.
Capricorn. Okay. Cool. And last rapid fire question. What's the one song you know will always get the crowd going?
Ooh, okay, there's this one song I used to play. It's called like Pistoles or something. It's a really weird name. And it's kind of like this melodic house techno dub song, but there's like minimal lyrics and like the bass is just like pulsing and it's perfect for opening, closing, headlining.
All the time, essentially.
I'm definitely butchering the name though, but maybe we can like link it or put it.
We'll have to put a little spelling of it somewhere.
Yeah.
But now I want to hear it. So why don't we get started? At first, I'm curious about how you got started in your DJ career. And I actually I saw you at, I think it was like the Delancey rooftop, I want to say. You know what I'm talking about? Like
that
when
had
you
to be
first started.
Like 2021.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Full circle moment.
Yeah. Basically, our mutual friend Mel is how I got to like go to your first set.
Yeah.
So it's so funny that
had to be literally
progression.
That had to be one of my first sets ever.
Yeah.
Like my third set, maybe.
Wow. Okay, cool. So how'd you get started in like those first gigs and like what made you get into it in general?
Yeah, I mean, I got started DJing because during COVID, I was hanging out with my friend Luke, who is like he was a really cool DJ in Singapore, but he was also quarantining in New York. And I always loved writing songs since I was a kid. Since I was like literally like 5 years old, I've been writing I was in bands my whole life. I was writing like full-length songs and I was always like on the lyric side of things and the melody side of things, but I was never really on the production side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So we made like a fun song together on Ableton, just fucking around during COVID. And
you'd never been on Ableton before?
No.
That was your first time seeing it?
Yes.
Yeah.
First time ever. And I mean, we spent like hours and hours every day working on it, and he was showing me things, and the song got sent to my friend for her birthday party, and someone had thought I was a DJ because the song was played. And then asked me if I wanted to play this party, and I was drunk, and I was like, yeah, I'm a DJ, sure, I'll do it. But I was actually in acting school.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So you were not, they thought you were a DJ, and you said, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Even though you never DJ'd.
Yeah, exactly.
That is confidence.
I knew a lot about music from like making music my whole life, and the gig was like, I think it was like 3 weeks away. So I was like, it's definitely possible for me to learn. And I was drunk. So when I'm drunk, I'll say I can do anything. Someone's like, do you want to fly this rocket ship? I'm like, yes.
Yeah. No, I feel that.
Yeah.
So then you had 3 weeks. So how did you prepare in 3 weeks?
So I went to Guitar Center. I immediately got a credit card and got literally like a crazy person, the CDJs and the mixer, like the full thing.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, I'm not going to fuck around, and I feel like I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. It was so weird. I was in school for something completely different, but something inside of me was just like, just bite the bullet. So I started streaming on Twitch, and I was like fucking around on them. And I played the first gig with my computer. So it was like kind of easier. And then from there on out, I just started getting booked full time. And it was also just after COVID. So I think the time was a little bit like different, where the clubs are opening and they were like, who are the DJs now? It's been like 2 years.
2021.
And then
summer.
Yeah, exactly. And people had just kind of thought I was a DJ because I played a show already, and the world just opened.
Well, then you are. Once you play one show,
So I immediately got booked like full time and dropped out of school after my first gig.
So no more acting?
No.
Since then. Would you ever want to go back into acting?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll always.
But you're focusing on this.
I feel like Bangs is a character.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I write scripts for all my songs, which aren't out yet. We'll get into that. But
okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Clearly, you just got started really fast. 3 weeks, first gig, started booking more gigs. Yeah. But then within a year, did you play Brooklyn Mirage within a year? How that's crazy. First of all, that doesn't happen. And I know it was 2021, maybe a little different time, but still crazy impressive. So was there some secret you had to making connections or to booking those bigger gigs?
I would go to the Brooklyn Mirage and I'd ask everyone who works there, who books talent. And it all came back to this one person whose name I won't disclose. And I knew that he booked the talent. So I went up to him and I was like, you should book me here because I'm DJing everywhere in New York right now. And I didn't say in a cocky way. I was just like, I'm DJing all the clubs right now. I'm opening for all the big artists. You guys should book me here. And I always come here and I love this venue, and I just didn't care. I don't care if someone says no to me. And he kind of laughed. And then I remember 6 months later, kind of happened in a good timing where someone was next to him and was like, oh, she just played with Locodice or something, or whatever. Oh, are you, I was going by Georgie at the time. Are you Georgie? You just played. And then Kenny's the book or whatever, it doesn't matter. He was like, oh, interesting. Okay. So it was kind of a word of mouth thing. You kind of have to, in my opinion, approach the people who are booking, but you can't just be the only person. Other people have to be talking about you as well. Yeah. Whether it's in that moment or through oh, this girl's been playing a lot of shows or whatever. But the first gig at the time did come from my manager, who worked in the EDM world. And after that, it was weird because I played the first show and then I got booked 4 times that summer. So
it sounds like you were really fearless in putting yourself out there and doing everything you could to make a connection. But then there are other people advocating for you and putting your name out there. Yeah,
I think that's the secret sauce is being bold enough to make personal relationships with these people because they just want to book someone that they can trust. The last thing. Also, I think one of the talent buyers DM'd me on Instagram and was like, can you play this gig? And I was like, is this real? Damn. I was like, that was the first one came from my manager and the second one was an Instagram DM from Mirage. And I was like, is this fucking real?
Well, there are some gigs I've been hearing from DJs now that are scammers. So that can happen nowadays, but I'm glad that did not happen to you.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And you had a manager, you said, from early on. How did you go about finding a manager?
Anyone who I knew was at the club 5 days a week was the person I was going to ask to tell the person to book me.
Nice. So you hired your friend?
Basically.
Sounds like.
No, but that's how so the first month, that's how I got kind of nonstop bookings, also through Instagram. Then a manager or someone in the EDM world who owned EDM Train at the time, he had seen me and he was in the audience, saw me play and was like, do you have a manager / booking agent? I was like, no, just started. And then he was like, well, I'll be your manager. And he's my manager for 2 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And did you have an agent as well?
No, he was more of like a manager agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both, yeah.
So.
Awesome.
And we would do like, I would use my connections or he would use his connections and we would kind of like flip-flop who gets the gig and stuff like that.
Very cool. I think, a lot of DJs don't have a manager that early on. So that's pretty rare as well.
Yeah. But I definitely think you can do it without for sure too. Like networking in this industry is so big if you don't have music out.
It seems like you're a master of it, to be honest. Like,
I feel like you are too.
I'm trying too. But I think a big part of it is just the boldness that you're talking about. Is being bold enough to go up to people and introduce yourself.
You just have to know that like they're scared of booking the wrong person and they just want to book the right people. So as long as you can, I don't think I ever sent a mix around ever in my life. Like I have an EPK. Really? I've never used my EPK before. Wow. I think it comes down to reputation. Mm-hmm. It comes down to, you can play a small gig, but if you kill it, you have a good reputation.
True.
Yeah.
You now are doing everything synth music. Can you please explain to the people what synth music is and how you got into it?
Synth music is focused on synthesizers. So the most popular band from the 80s was Depeche Mode, who, did synth pop, synth rock. Now, ever since then, like Mr. Kitty, Maru, there's a lot of Perturbator. There's a lot of modern day Kavinsky, kind of like synth wave, dark wave, cold wave. There's all these kind of subgenres of post-punk and synth music. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I'm inspired from. And the reason I want to infiltrate the DJ world with it is because I noticed at every show there's always a bass stage, a house stage, and a techno stage.
The big festivals.
And there's never a synth stage. If you go back to the 90s, especially in Germany and London, there's all synth clubs. Like, so there's one festival called Darker Waves, and then there's pop-up synth parties. Syntheside is a big one. Mm-hmm. I threw one over the summer called the Bad Party. It's budding in the underground.
Okay,
so
cool.
It'll make its way.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the Bad Party, actually. So what is the Bad Party? Why did you start it? And is it still going on? Can people still go to parties?
Yeah. So the Bad Party it stands for Bangs After Dark. So it's basically
Bangs After Dark. Bad. Okay.
Yeah. So it's basically the Bangs After Dark party, which is
cool.
A synth music party. It represents the subgenres of synth music as well as some more aggressive genres like EBM, which is electric body music, which is another subgenre of synth music. And it's basically a party dedicated to booking local acts that bring this kind of sound to New York. Because it's so crazy. If you go to even LA, it's bigger there, but especially if you go to Germany or London, it's huge there. And it's just, I think it's been kind of thrown in the category of alternative or rock when it's like completely electronic, and it's definitely not. There's synth rock, of course, but in my opinion, I think it deserves a stage and I think it deserves attention. Beatport doesn't have a genre for synth music yet. I've already spoken to the people there. I'm very, very passionate, and that's, why I wanted to do live events. And we are still doing events, but right now they're pop-up. First, we did them every Thursday over the summer. And the last one was really successful. I think we had like 500 people there. Yeah. And then we took a break for a couple months. I'm working on other things, and we're going to pop back up this year.
Ooh, so, okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm excited for that. Mm-hmm. And why do you think it is underrepresented in electronic? And why do you think it's been put with rock? Is it just historically it's always been that way?
I think it's the genre of punk music because if you think about punk music inspired a lot of other genres of music that go far beyond punk rock. And I think that it's kind of like a lot of artists were not getting discovered back in the day because maybe major labels weren't picking up on this sound. But with TikTok, dark wave is, I mean, there's on the pop charts right now, there's a dark wave song that's like next to Olivia Rodrigo. And it's that guy Artemis, whom I think it's his first dark wave song he ever made. I don't mean to get off track, but I think it's underrepresented because people thought it was just like a goth genre of music, or it was sort of, a lot of people who make the music are from the goth world. It comes from the goth world. But nowadays with TikTok, a lot of different people are making it, and of all different kind of cultures. Like Mr. Kitty is a big one. If you know the song After Dark.
I'll have to listen to it.
You definitely know it. It's like,
okay.
na 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 na. You definitely know it because that has like almost 1 billion streams.
Okay.
But
damn. You DJ and you're writing songs. What about, and you're hosting this party, what about your record label? You have a whole ass record label as well.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so my label's called Bitch House. And
Bitch House.
Okay. Bitch House Records. And shocker, guys, it represents synth music. But it represents, the reason I started the label is because I've talked to major labels about my artist project, and a lot of interest has been shown, but I think people get scared to take risks on sounds until they start working. So when something's budding in the underground, only a couple people will want to put money into it, right? But I wanted to start the label because I believe I write very pop. Like all my music tends to be very pop. And the production behind it is very, synth inspired. So I felt like I could give a platform to other artists to, be able to find funding and exposure and collaboration and kind of start a movement.
That's awesome.
So we're starting with launching my project this year. Like everything will be out, and then I don't want to sign anyone prematurely.
Okay.
So my goal is to launch my project very successfully, get the leverage to either get an imprint with a major label or a distribution deal.
Okay.
Imprint kind of situation, or remain completely independent and raise a lot of funding, which I'm in the capital raising right now, so I can actually give support to these artists. Yeah.
And how did you learn the business side and like the capital funds raising side? Because, not a lot of people know that side, especially when you are the artist.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to know about the business and the financial side of it.
Yeah.
But it seems like you do, or you have a pretty good understanding of it. So how did you learn that?
I think I learned it from just having when you have a passion, you'll do anything to make it happen, right?
Hell yeah.
Even if nothing makes sense. Like when I started, this is going to revert back to business, but when I started kind of moving into more of out of the EDM scene and more into the goth scene, it was purely out of passion and excitement. I went from playing shows with thousands of people to playing shows with 5 people. But I was so happy because I was like, I know there's something here. And you got to make investors feel that there's something there when there's nothing.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me.
That's marketing also.
Yeah.
And sales.
And I made a bitch deck, as I call it, which is a pitch deck.
Oh.
And it's very thorough. And I just thought about, what do I need to realistically have this thing take off? And I calculated the numbers. I got a lawyer, got a new manager, got a business manager, which all happened through trial and error. And then I think there's a thing in like divine timing. So I think eventually the knowledge comes to you when it's supposed to.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
And I'm sure you have done your research as well.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing.
No one does.
Yeah.
On top of all of this, you're also in a band.
Yes.
So how do you manage all of this? And can you tell us a little about the band too?
Bangs started off as Georgie, whom was the DJ, I don't know, I'm talking like that, who I was the DJ.
Yes.
Then I started to become a bit of an anarchist. I'll use that word very lightly.
Okay.
Because I was like, all these songs I want to play, I can't play in any of the shows. Like, number one, they're all synth driven. Number 2, they're vocally driven. Number 3, some guitars would sound nice on this. And I started to realize, fuck, like I think I need a band, like a back band. And I think I need to be an artist, not only a DJ. I think I need to be an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I raised capital for my artist project. I stopped playing gigs, got a back band, and started doing shows with my band.
And that's all under Bangs?
It's all under Bangs. And when I play as Bangs After Dark,
Mm-hmm.
it's my club sets as a DJ. Bangs is the artist. That's a singer-songwriter, and I have a back band to support me as I play live. But I'm also a DJ.
And it's just your persona as well.
Yeah.
Which I also wanted to ask about. I feel like, you know, bangs is clearly a part of your aesthetic, which I have bangs.
You get it.
Too. I get it.
Yeah.
But also, like, you always wear the black lipstick.
Yeah.
You know, you just have like the goth look going on.
Mm-hmm.
How did you develop that style and aesthetic? And do you feel like it's helped in your career?
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because it happened very naturally when I was in the techno world. Not people would wear all black, but there wasn't much goth influence, and I slowly over time started to kind of dress different. Like when I was really young, I was a complete tomboy.
Okay.
And I was even in a band called Tomboys when I was like 6, 7, you know.
You were in a band when you were 6?
When I was really young. It was with my cousin.
That's adorable. Okay.
Yeah. But like I was always the edgy sister. My sister was always the like bubblegum, you know, pink sister. Then I, you know, grew into my teens, grew into my early 20s, and I was like, okay, I want to fit in with everybody. Like I'm kind of like I want to be
fit in.
I was like
at one point. Wow.
I was like I want to be normal. So I tried to like self tan, and I did the whole like platinum blonde thing for a while. But deep down, I always wanted to kind of revert kind of to this again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I started like writing my own music, it gave me the confidence to do that. So when I was DJing, when I was DJing, I was like, oh, I'm a performer now. Like I'm just gonna like. One day I woke up and was like, I'm gonna put on a black lipstick. Where do I even find one?
Kat Von D?
And then shout out Kat Von D. And then I found one. And then, you know, when I started my band, I was like, I kind of want to like paint my face.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started painting my face.
Mm-hmm.
It all happened very naturally and weird.
You're doing a lot. So how do you manage that, and how do you keep your mental sanity?
I have a lot of people helping me.
Okay.
I do not do all this on my own, and I think there's nothing wrong with it. First off, I have like a mental health problem. I don't want to say problem, but I have a really bad panic attack disorder. So I have trouble like leaving the house most days, and I have trouble like getting on the train sometimes. And so that comes first. So I usually spend most of my mornings meditating, journaling, and then I go to the studio. And then throughout the week, I have calls with my team, and we talk about release strategy. I have an amazing co-producer and producer. So I'm more of the singer-songwriter, kind of co-producer in the sense of directionality. And I have this amazing producer that's in one of my favorite bands called Front 242. He's from the 90s, and he's actually working on my album with me. He pulls some heavy weight with the production. My manager delegates a lot of business stuff. And I have an amazing investor who has supported the entire project financially and also allowed me to work from the studio and from my house a lot and do less gigs while I'm healing. So
congrats, and thanks for like sharing about you know, your honest experiences. And I wanted to ask too, if you're comfortable with answering, have your panic attacks ever affected your performances or your music career, I guess?
It has, because certain days I always do the things. Like I'll go to the studio, I'll play the show, but I'm very fragile like in those scenarios if I'm having an off day. So usually I have to like step out maybe, or shorten my session, or record from home, or work around it. And when I have a show, I just like mentally kind of don't even let myself. I'm just like, we have a show.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you found some ways to cope with it, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah, and just having a healthy routine is important. Like I find like taking the right supplements, like eating right, like all of those things are like part of making it less severe when it does come on.
In your time since 2021 when you started this, have you experienced any misogyny in the industry? And if so, can you talk about some stories of that without naming any names,
Of course. Absolutely. When I first started, there was this one promoter that no matter what he looked up to my manager. And no matter what my manager said to him, he would still be like wanting to pay me less or treat me like kind of like I'm so lucky to have this gig. And the reason I think it was misogynistic was because when I did play a show with this promotional company, the DJ before me plugged in his USB in the middle of my set. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, I have 30 more minutes. And he was like, well, it's actually, I'm just going to go on now. Like, the promoter said I could.
Oh,
and I was like, what do you mean the promoter said you could? Like, I'm booked. Like, I have 30 more minutes. It's not like I was like fucking up my set or they're like, you got to kick this girl off. It was more of like no, I just want to play now.
Yeah.
And the promoter said I can, so you're just gonna have to get off. And I was like, all right, so let's go back to back then.
You did? You went back to back.
One song and then he backed off. And he's like, oh, actually, yeah, I'll come back in 20 minutes.
Okay.
And then, of course, like 15 minutes later, he came back and I'm like, I still have 5 minutes, bro.
Nice.
And I would almost feel like, oh my God, another like dumb model DJ who like, and the reason I say I feel that is because I remember the sound guys would like talk to me like I was illiterate.
Oh, really?
And I'd be like, cables was like plugged in the wrong channel. And they were like, no, it's on this channel. I'm like, this is literally lighting up, it's on this channel. It'd be like the most basic knowledge ever. And they would be like, no, it's not. And I'd be like, yes, it is. And I'm just like, it was very much
demeaning.
A little bit. And it's hard to say at the time where you're like, okay, is it just this person's attitude? Do they just hate their job? Or is it like a gender thing? Sometimes it's hard to tell. But when things happen over and over again, a lot of the times it's kind of this like stereotype of like, oh, this like model girl. So that also inspired a lot of the makeup. Because they don't talk to me when I look like this. Like
They're scared.
They don't talk to me like that. No. If I like show up with my face painted to a DJ set.
Yeah.
Like to like play like house music, they're not gonna talk to me like that.
That's funny. Oh my God. I mean, it's not funny, but shit.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I think I'm fortunate because I think a lot of women have experienced more than I. I think I'm a very like, I don't know, like I just don't put up with bullshit. And I think more women, I think we all shouldn't, but it's scary at first when you're new to an industry or not, or you're experienced and they're talking to you in some type of way.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys would say, oh, you're getting all these bookings because you're a female and it's a trend right now.
They would say that to your face?
Of course. And I'd be like, why is it a trend? Why? It's just women haven't been booked for years. And now we're getting booked and suddenly I get how it can look like a trend. But don't you think someone should just get booked based on their talent? Like it shouldn't matter if they're what gender. Like I think it should just be, are you talented? Do you play a good set? Do you fit this lineup?
Did you experience any imposter syndrome in that first year because you were new? Seems like you were very confident in it, but I know that a lot of DJs I've talked with have experienced imposter syndrome when starting.
I think I just disassociated from my body. I think I literally just...
That is like the technique though. I'm not kidding.
It is, but like there's a spectrum. I started disassociating and then like you get to the spectrum where like you get panic attacks. That's what happened to me. I would disassociate all the time. I'd be like, oh, I'm just not going to feel that. I'm not going to feel that. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling everything at once.
Okay, so like the emotions.
Yeah, I would just...
Are inside.
Like I remember when I played Brooklyn Mirage and got off, everyone was like, oh my God, my friends. And I was like, I didn't feel anything. Like that was fun, I guess. But like, so the imposter syndrome to me is more of just like no emotion. So like, is that imposter syndrome?
No, I think that's really interesting. I think like people just have
different
ways of processing. Yeah, and coping.
Totally.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of ways to kind of remove yourself when you feel like something's not meant to be. Also, I read this book, Think and Grow Rich, which I love. It really helped me. It was basically just like, if you desire something, you're meant to have it and no one can take that from you. Yeah, it like changed my whole mindset. Like I was like, okay, I can stop DJing, raise funding, and start a back band and take over this genre and start a label and throw parties and release an album and collab with
no big deal.
Because this
things.
book like brainwashed me, I swear to God.
Yeah,
you guys, everyone needs to read Think and Grow Rich.
I wanted to talk about your social media a little bit. Your presence on Instagram is really impressive, and it seems like you have a really nice, cohesive feed. Do you have any advice on curating social media or building that presence as an artist?
One of my Mirage videos got like a good amount of views a couple years ago, and I did like one TikTok that went viral, and little things like that.
So it sounds just like authenticity to me.
Yeah, and I did Twitch, which I had like a consistent like little cult fan base, which helped a little bit. I had friends that were like bigger influencers that I did like streams with that helped a little bit with Instagram. But I don't know, I feel like that's my weakness. I'm like
Really?
I am like the most lazy person ever when it comes to social media. I'm like, I will post 1,000 stories a day, but if you ask me to post a TikTok or a reel, you're crazy.
We've talked about a lot of things, but overall, what tool or skill do you feel like has helped you the most in growing your career?
I think you need to I'm looking at the camera for this one. You have to get very clear on who you are. Because once you know who you are, like I know my sound, I know my image, I know the story I want to tell, then you can kind of fill in all the pieces. Like what labels would help with that? What producers would help with that? What songwriters would help with that? When I started getting very clear on my vision, I realized I need to have a band. I need to be a singer. I'm going to DJ, but that's not my main focus. And it was like this weird kind of transition thing. You know, I was like, well, I built my whole career up and I got a couple production offers from big companies in the DJ world to really fly high as a DJ, like a singing DJ.
And you said no.
I said no because my vision was clear and it didn't fit the equation.
Wow.
And then everything starts to change around you. Like the people start to change, the opportunities. When you say no to a big opportunity for the right reason, it's a big blessing. And these opportunities come when you know what you want. People are attracted to you when you know what you want. So like my best advice is just know what you want and don't rush it. It took me 3 years to figure out even what sound I wanted to make.
I love that because I think a lot of people really they're in that exploration phase or they don't know exactly what they want, and that can cause a lot of anxiety. And I've gone through that before for sure. And that's like a hard place to be in. I
tried all the things. I mean, I was a DJ that didn't resonate with techno, house, or bass music. And I was like,
where do I go?
Where do I go from here?
Trance?
Literally trance. Yeah. But it's interesting because I actually do love techno though. But I think like a lot of people will hear things like melodic techno is really big right now. I'm like, that's my sound.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, when I first started, I did the same thing. I'd be like, oh my God, like, you know, melodic house, that's my sound. And sometimes when you do that, you limit yourself. What if you produced a song and didn't even think you had a sound? I'm sure it'd come out very different from those sounds.
Yeah.
Or maybe it would put a spin on those sounds. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a part of something that's popular at all, but I think there's something special in kind of pretending you don't know anything and just kind of seeing what naturally inspires you.
So not looking at trends and just seeing what you're attracted to first.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so because I think you can. I mean, I literally made like 3 indie dance songs and I was about to launch my project, like indie dance bitch. Like I was going full indie dance.
Okay.
And it was the closest thing to synth music and that's why I liked it, but it wasn't hitting the nail on the head.
Okay, well, I think that's all we have time for today. Can you tell the people if there's any exciting things that they should be on the lookout for?
Yeah. Of course, this year, so I have 2 collab songs out right now, one through Revealed labels, one through Negative Gain label. And this year I'm dropping my first single, it's just bangs, showing my new sound, as well as an album. And
an album? This year?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay.
So music, lots and lots of music coming, lots of shows coming, lots of collabs coming with some of my favorite artists. So yeah.
Yes. Okay. And where can they find you on socials?
Yeah, I'm Bangs After Dark on Instagram and all my other socials. I don't even know what they are, but just find me on Instagram first, and I'm Bangs on Spotify. Just Bangs.
Beautiful. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
This was literally amazing. It was so much fun.
Oh my God. And we still got more wine.